Lenora Fulani is a native of Chester, Pennsylvania, went to Hofstra University, ran for governor of New York, mayor and lieutenant governor, and also ran for president, the first African-American and the first woman to be on the ballot in all 50 states. Let's get to your phone calls. First, Baltimore for Lenora Fulani. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Hi.
I bless you for all that you do. My question is this.
I need to be blessed. Thank you.
My question is this. Can the voter honestly expect a true independent to not eventually play the games that have been established, since they are so woven into our political being?
No. See, this process, the CHIP process, choosing an independent president in 2004, is not about an independent candidate. There's no way to even guarantee that if you have an independent who runs for office, that they will speak in the voice of political reform issues and the kinds of things that many independents are concerned about. Who we are addressing, who we're speaking to, who's filled out our questionnaires, are the candidates who are currently running for office, at least 3 of them. Some of others have expressed interest. And what we're trying to do is influence how it is that they relate to independence, not use us, but relate to the issues that many of us have become independents for, like, how do you do something about partisanship? What happened in Florida during the last presidential race, that wasn't an anomaly. That happens in states all over the country because the process is so corrosive and it is so partisan, whether you're talking about the Supreme Court or the election boards city to city in this country. So people care about that. They care about expanding our democracy. I'm one of the founders of the Independence Party in New York State. We have the 3rd largest party in the state. It's the strongest independent party in the country. We have a base of 2 million voters. And the kinds of things that we're concerned about have to do with open up the process. We're having a battle in New York City around the issue of nonpartisan election, which is a democracy issue. Those are the issues that 90% of the 5,000 independents who have filled out our questionnaire so far, our poll, are insisting have to be addressed by the candidates who want our vote. And that's what we're in the process of organizing, our voice in this presidential election relative to the existing candidates who come on board. And we'll see who wants to build that relationship with the independents.
In an environment that too often sees success in school and the white mainstream as an act of racial betrayal. Dr. Lenora Fulani, a political activist and an educator, has devoted the last decade to tackling these issues on the street. I went to meet her in Brooklyn.
We have kids living today, forget 35 years ago, in communities in New York City, like Queens and Brooklyn, who've never seen the World Trade Center. They didn't know it existed until September 11th. They they've never worn a suit. And they don't know the experience, for example, young men are putting on a suit and walking down a street in Midtown and finding a way of being related to that's so very different from the usual ways in which they get related to. Our communities often are very parochial, very narrow, and these kids end up with these ghettoized identities. And you can't make it in the world with the dominant culture being white. If that's the only performance, you know.
Well, help us to understand, but what happens when they see Colin Powell on TV, Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, you, for example, Cornel West, giving the lecture? I mean, isn't there a way that is taking them outside their environment? Doesn't that translate? I mean, don't the accomplishments of black people of our generation, people like us, can't that be used to inspire?
You want me to tell you what I really think?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the kids barely notice. Actually, my experience is that when the kids see me, it's because I've been in their communities, and then they see me on the TV and they say, oh, I know Dr. Fulani.
Right. Because you're in the community first.
Yes. I mean, yes. And I don't think they know. I mean, they wouldn't, a lot of them don't know Colin Powell. Like, they don't know these people.
But how can you live in America and not know who Colin Powell is?
I don't know. How can you live in New York and never see the World Trade Center?
Right.
I was doing some work about...
For Dr. Fulani, black people at the top of the establishment can't possibly serve as role models if the children of the inner city don't know they exist. So she has set up the Castillo Cultural Center, an organization that funds grassroots programs designed to change the way teenagers in the ghetto think about themselves and their career options.
One of the things that I'm trying to get the kids in some ways to be is less black in these ghettoized ways that they've come to learn how to be.
Less black means what, exactly?
Less hip. I tell the kids always that we need more nerds in the black community. In my program, I have these business managers who train the kids for me. They're predominantly white, well-to-do business people, and I tell them to teach the kids how to be white. And they almost, fall off their chair. They have all the liberal reactions of, oh my God, we're gonna, step on their cultural toes. I said, believe me, after the 12 weeks, they'll still be black. But why don't you use this as an opportunity to share with them some of the secrets of white success?
A political fire is causing quite a stir on Staten Island tonight. It is so controversial, even the local candidate it supports wants nothing to do with it. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Charlesworth has the story.
This is the flyer. It says, quote, I'm not asking you to vote for Al Curtis because he's black. I'm asking you to vote for Al Curtis because you're black.
So I should vote for anyone because he's Italian? It's horrible.
You wouldn't do that?
No.
I think it's kind of racist.
That was from people on the street. The Independence Party paid for the handbill to support this Republican, Al Curtis, who was running for state senate. It was for him, but he says this was the first time he'd seen it.
I'm a black man. I can't erase that fact. I'm urging people to vote for me not because I'm black, but because I'm a qualified candidate. I did not approve this flyer going out. It was done by the Independence Party.
This is how his Democratic opponent reacted.
Michelle, I'm not going to characterize the content of the flyer or the intent behind the flyer, no matter how offensive I may find it.
No one wanted to touch it, so without opposition to the flyer from either candidate, we went to the source, the person who put this flyer out there.
The flyer is about the black community being abused and taken for granted by the Democratic Party.
That, she says, would be the because you're black part of the message.
Would it offend you if the words black in this flyer were replaced with the words Italian or white or Jewish?
Well, in a way, it wouldn't offend me, but it wouldn't make any sense because the history of the black community relative to the Democratic Party isn't the same history of whites in America.
The flyer has been out for 1 week. In Staten Island, Michelle Charlesworth, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
I'm going to go back to the same question, which you've heard probably 100 times, and that is, in terms of what people, especially in the city, 5-1 Democrats, what people in the city think, they think that, let's just say they agreed with you and think that Nader is the best choice, that Kerry would be second best and Bush would be the third best choice. But they believe that Nader is unattainable. Are they not saying, you know what, if I vote for Nader, then my worst choice is going to get in? Isn't that a situation they want to avoid and see if they can't push Kerry in?
If Nader got 15% of the black and Latino vote, the Congress...
Nationwide?
Nationwide.
Yes.
The Congress people in the black and Latino communities and other elected officials, Democrats, would wake up and say, oh my goodness, these communities are no longer knee-jerk voters for us. They listen to our campaign. They are
listen to issues.
Yeah, yes, and they responded to what they see is happening. One of the things relative to going back to what somebody's conscious is, obviously one of the cutting edge issues today is the war. People are literally right at this moment dying because of decisions that have been made. Kerry's saying basically that he really voted for the war, but he didn't mean for George Bush to carry it out in the way that he did. What is he talking about?
I think I heard that from a number of different
well, that's
people.
Ridiculous. I mean,
well, in other words,
he
voted for giving the president the right to launch
right. So the
war.
president and Cheney and Wolfowitz and all the people that they identify as the folks who are warmongers, they vote to give them the authority to go to war. But what they think they were going to do, organize a ballet, is just not real. And
that would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been been better.
U.S. Iraqi ballet would have been a lovely cultural event.
It's not serious. It's dishonest, and I think that's one of the reasons why Kerry at the moment is slipping. I mean, the Democrats are scared that Nader's going to cost them the election. Basically, they've cost themselves the election because they won't fight for anything.
Did Nader cost Al Gore the election?
No, see, my notion, I think that this notion of costing people elections is based on a misunderstanding of what a democracy is. In a democracy, there is no such thing as a spoiler. There are competitors. The people who voted for Ralph Nader 4 years ago wish to vote for Ralph Nader. The people who are going to vote for him in November want to vote for him. It's almost, I mean, sometimes I have to say to people in our communities, it's not as if our heads were stamped at birth that we're Democratic voters. No, what we should be able to do in a democracy is look at all the choices and make a choice. And I think that that's what they're afraid of.
We should march proudly and strongly and bring to the people of New York State the kind of compassion and feeling that is all